What's up with the get-up, Ted? What do you want to talk about? One of those other role-playing games?
Nah, I'm still all D&D all the time.
Yeah, but that's not typical fantasy attire you're wearing there, my friend.
It is if you're playing Eberron and you're playing an Artificer.
Good point. Let's talk about Artificer for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. Welcome to Nerdarchy. For nerds, by nerds, I'm Nerdarchy Dave, and as usual, I'm hanging out with this nerd.
Nerdarchy Ted.
Nerdarchy is a place where we like to discuss news, views, and homebrews for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. And sometimes we talk about other role-playing games.
So if you don't want to miss a single video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and to tune to that notification bell.
All right, so we're going to dive into the Artificer, and I'm going to pull it up on D&D Beyond, and you're going to look at, a dead tree.
I look at a dead tree.
So I guess it's only fair to mention our sponsor, D&D Beyond, which you can pick up Rising from the Last War, the Eberron campaign setting right now from there. And also, they got a lot of other great features. There's a lot of free stuff. There's a lot of articles, videos, all the SRD stuff's there. And you can just have this awesome D&D database at your fingertips.
So if you want to add all the great stuff that's in Eberron, specifically the Artificer, picking it up over on D&D Beyond is a great way to do it and add that to your collection.
All right, so let's jump into it. So Artificer, masters of unlocking magic in everyday objects. Artificers are supreme inventors. That is the very first line. That is what they do. Their headings are arcane science, seekers of new lore.
So there's a lot of great things in here. And they give you the rules for what to do if you're going to use multi-classing with it. So you've got your minimum ability scores, your proficiency gained, and how you calculate your spell slots. So that's really, needed information to have. So I was glad it was included.
So, it was introduced as an Eberron specific character class, but you could use it in other worlds. And they have a nice little sidebar here about using the Artificer in other worlds. Real quick, I guess we should get into what actually is an Artificer, and then I would like to hit that sidebar. So an Artificer is someone in previous editions that didn't really see divine and arcane magic. Everything was just magic. Here they're really focusing back in on its arcane magic, but they're more like scholars and scientists with magics than they are spellcasters. They're tinkerers, they're inventors. They make things. Magic is a tool that they wield and use.
Right. So I'll read the sidebar. Eberron is the world most associated with Artificers, yet the class can be found throughout the D&D multiverse. In the Forgotten Realms, for example, the island of Lanton is home to many Artificers. In the world of Dragonlance, Tinker Gnomes are often members of this class. The strange technologies and the barrier peaks of the world of Greyhawk have inspired some folk to walk up the path of the Artificer. And in Mystara, various nations employ Artificers to keep airships and other wondrous devices operational. In the city of Sigil, Artificers share discoveries from throughout the cosmos, and one in particular, the gnome inventor Vi, has run a multiverse-spanning business from there since leaving the world of her birth, Eberron. In the world city Ravnica, the Izzet League trains numerous Artificers, the destructiveness of whom is unparalleled in other worlds, except perhaps by the Tinker Gnomes of Krynn.
And if you're not familiar with Tinker Gnomes or Krynn, they don't do it on purpose. So, we get into the quick build rules. We get into the optional rules for multi-classing. Also, so with that, let's just kind of jump into Artificer mechanically, what they get and what it means.
All right, so you start off, it's a D8 hit die. Proficiencies, you get light armor, medium armor, and shields. You get simple weapons. Tools, you get thieves' tools, tinker tools, and one artisan's tool of your choice. Your saving throws are constitution and intelligence, and you can choose 2 skills from Arcana, History, Investigation, Medicine, Nature, Perception, and Sleight of Hand.
So they are now I believe they're the highest in the game as far as proficiencies go, skill proficiencies, if you're including tools within that. At 5, before that, I believe 4 was the highest.
Oh, no,
that's not true. That's not true at all. They're tied with Rogue now.
Yeah, because Rogue's got 4 skills and thieves' tools.
That is true.
So it's on par. But a lot of great stuff that's there. First level, you get magical tinkering that basically allows you to use a little bit of magic with your tools, whether you want the object to emit light, record a message, do an odor or nonverbal sound, wind waves, chirping, or that kind of stuff.
Now I'm just envisioning Artificers just making whoopee cushions, pretty much.
Or you can do a static visual effect that appears on an object surface. Their spellcasting feature, tools are required. You have to use a tool as your focus or as your component while you're doing magic because, as Dave says earlier, they are manipulators of things. They create things. They do not just have the ability to wield magic with their bare hands.
Yeah, they're either putting the magic in or finding the magic is already there and kind of bringing it out. It is worth noting, though, for that magical tinkering that you mentioned, that object it lasts indefinitely. You know, they have a certain amount of them that they're able to have, and if they make a new one and they're maxed out, it just replaces the oldest one. So it's almost permanent.
Basically.
So the tool required, which you went over, which is really cool, but there's an addendum to that I would like to point out, and this fixes some of the problems with Artificer for me and kind of recaptures some of the flavor from 3rd edition. After you gain the infuse item feature at 2nd level, you can also use the item bearing one of your infusions as a spellcasting focus. So these kind of like quasi magic items, sometimes magic items that you can create as an Artificer, now they're spellcasting focuses. If you infuse your shield, you can now use your shield. If you have access to fighting with martial weapons like a sword and you infuse that can now be your arcane focus. That's really cool, and that opens things up, and that means feats like Warcaster is really good in conjunction with the Artificer.
So a lot of great things, a lot of building blocks if you are using the optional multi-class rule, to build upon. And, we here at Nerdarchy, we like multi-classing. We like being able to mix things up and seeing how some things combined, much the way an Artificer might.
Mm-hmm.
And, therefore it leads things down fun and interesting angles.
They get cantrips, and they also have more flexibility with their cantrips than other casters. They have their cantrips, and they get a little bit more flexibility with their cantrips than other casters. In the Unearthly Canon variant rules, we actually saw this introduced where when you gain a level, you can swap out a cantrip and take something different. Well, this is an actual feature for the Artificer.
So that really is going to cement that rule that they're playtesting, or maybe it was created here and like, what, we might want to offer this to everybody else, given how this was already in production by the time that UA had hit. So that is kind of cool to see, those playtest rules kind of in an official capacity.
We get another sidebar, the Magic of Artifice. Actually, this is one that I think you would really enjoy, Ted, because...
Yes. Well, I'll read it for you guys out there. As an Artificer, you use tools when you cast your spells. When describing your spell casting, think about how you're using a tool to perform the spell effect. If you cast Cure Wounds using alchemist supplies, you could be quickly producing a salve. If you cast it using Tinker tools, you might have a miniature mechanical spider that binds wounds. When you cast Poison Spray, you could fling foul chemicals or use a wand that spits venom. The effect of the spell is the same for spellcasting of any other class, but your method of spellcasting is special. The same principle applies when you prepare your spells. As an Artificer, you don't study a spellbook or pray to prepare your spells. Instead, you work with your tools and create the specialized items you'll use to produce your effects. If you replace Cure Wounds with Heat Metal, you might be altering the device you use to heal, perhaps modifying a tool so it channels heat instead of healing energy. Such details don't limit you in any way or provide you with any benefit beyond the spell's effects. You don't have to justify how you're using the tools to cast a spell, but describing your spell casting creatively is a fun way to distinguish yourself from other spellcasters.
Basically, they're just saying, have fun with it, make stuff up. You get nothing for doing it. It does not hinder you. You just get to look a little bit cooler, maybe.
So, Dave, what Dave is saying is that I enjoy that aspect of the game a lot when a character has an ability and you're going to do it differently than everybody else. Taking the moment ahead of time, preparing, well, this is how my character does things, with a lot of supers games and that kind of stuff, that is added into it. But here to see it in a D&D book, I totally love it. I encourage, players and, whatnot to use this kind of stuff. But with the Artificer, here it is written in, black and I'd say white, but that's kind of greenish to my eyes with the little sidebar box. But there it is in black ink, ready to inspire D&D players to do this Thumbs up, Watts. Great job.
So no surprise here, their spellcasting ability is intelligence. They are ritual casters. And now we get to the infuse item ability. This is unique and new to the game.
So this is kind of going along the lines of with what we were talking about earlier about using your magic and your tools to infuse an item with abilities. At the end of the Artificer class, it gives you options for how you want to infuse and all the different things that we'll get into. So at 20th level, you can know a total of 12 and have a current maximum of 6, that you have created. And it functions kind of like just like your magical tinkering, that if you use one and you're at your maximum, your oldest just kind of fizzles out.
And not only this, too, these are items that you don't personally have to use. You can disperse them amongst your party as well, which is kind of cool.
So 3rd level, you wind up getting your specialty, your archetype, your subclass, whatever you want to refer to it as. And you have Alchemist, Artillerist, and Battlesmith as your options.
Yes. And you're also going to get the right tool for the job. At 3rd level, you learn how to produce exactly the tool you need with Tinker's tools in hand. You can magically create one set of artisan tools in an unoccupied space within 5 feet of you. The creation requires 1 hour of interrupted work, which can coincide with a short or long rest. They're the product of magic. The tools are non-magical. They vanish when you use this feature again. So you can always basically have the tools that you need if you have enough time to create them.
So with this character class being very tool heavy, I imagine that you're going to have quite a bit of tool proficiencies by the time that they're done, and regardless of why you lost it, how you picked it up, what have you, sometimes you just need the right tool, and now they can just say, well, give me an hour and I got it.
Their ability score improvements are the standard. They don't get more or less than anybody else. At 6th level, they get tool expertise. Starting 6th level, your proficiency bonus is double for any ability check you make that uses your proficiency with a tool. So you have expertise in every tool you're proficient with.
Yeah, so that's like I said. I see these characters as picking up lots of tools. They might take skill just to gain 3 more tool proficiencies because they automatically would become an expert at that point.
There's a good possibility that they will have the most expertise in the game or very close to it, depending on how many tool proficiencies they have. How useful that is, I don't know, but you'll have it.
7th level, they get Flash of Genius. You gain the ability to come up with solutions under pressure. When you or another creature you can see within 30 feet of you makes an ability check or saving throw, you can use your reaction to add your intelligence modifier to the roll. You can use this feature a number of times a day equal to your intelligence mod, minimum once. You regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. One more thing that is allowing you to add on to a check. So now it's like, all right, well, if we got a bard, a cleric, and an artificer in the party, and this person's doing a skill check, all right, you're gonna inspire, you're gonna give them guidance, you're gonna give out a quick tip at the end, and let's see if we can push this roll above 40.
Yeah, you're going to be able to make some ridiculous high rolls now. We get Magic Item Adept at 10th level. You're attuned to up to 4 magic items at once. Nice. If you craft a magic item with a rarity of common or uncommon, it takes a quarter of the normal time and costs half as much as the usual gold. So you're better at making minor magic items.
11th level, you get Spell Storing Item. You learn how to store a spell in an object. When you finish a long rest, you can touch one simpler martial weapon or item you can use as a spellcasting focus, and you store a spell in it, choosing a 1st or 2nd level spell from the Artificer spell list that requires 1 action to cast. You don't have to have it prepared. While holding the object, a creature can take an action to produce the spell's effect from it using your spellcasting modifier. If the spell requires concentration, that creature must concentrate. The spell stays in the object until it has been used a number of times equal to twice your intelligence modifier, minimum 2, or until you use this feature again to store a spell in an object.
At this point, your intelligence is probably an 18 or a 20. So that's 8 to 10 uses. That's a lot of spell usage. And not only that, it's very versatile because you can give it to somebody else.
It doesn't say, that you have to have it. It does say that you don't need to have it prepared. It just says grab one from the Artificer spell list. So that leaves things a little open to interpretation. So some players and DMs, I imagine there's going to be a little bit of arguments there.
By roll, any Artificer spell you can just put in. Now, granted, they're low-level spells, so
Right.
it's not like... I feel like it's limited ability to abuse it. First and second level spells. It's not a big deal, but I mean, that is a lot of castings.
So, lot of fun. And, Cure Wounds is on that list. So, you're like, oh, I'm not preparing Cure Wounds today.
Here's 10 of them.
Here's a wand. You got, you do it.
Yeah. You're now the designated healer. I'm out.
14th level, you get magic item Savant. You can attune to up to 5 magic items at once. You ignore all class, race, and spell and level requirements on attuning to or using a magic item. So, that Warlock packed weapon, bam, you got that. You can use it without a problem.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't say increase your DC and to hit with Warlock spells, you're golden.
Right.
So that's pretty sweet. And then we have Magic Item Master. Starting at 18th level, you can attune up to 6 magic items at once. So, the most in the game, and that really comes into play when you get to their capstone ability.
The soul of Artifice. You develop a mystical connection to your magic items, which you draw on for protection. So remind you can get up to 6 at this point in time. You gain a +1 bonus to all saving throws per magic item you are currently attuned to. So if you got 6 attuned items, not hard for a 20th level Artificer who's got the ability to create magic items. Wow. As well as, if you're reduced to 0 hit points but not killed outright, you can use your reaction to end one of your Artificer infusions, causing you to drop to 1 hit point instead of 0. So therefore, and if you've got 6 at this point in time, you can do that 6 times where it's like, I'm still not dead. I'm still not dead. I'm still not dead.
So at this point, you're slightly better than the monk when it comes to saving throws. But let's face it, it's a 20th level ability. How much are you going to really get to use it? It's a cool ability, but again, how much you're going to get to use it. I like it, but it's way better than some of the other capstone abilities.
Absolutely.
Sure.
So we get into the specialties for the Artificer, and the first up is the Alchemist. An alchemist is an expert at combining reagents to produce mystical effects. Alchemists use their creations to give life and to leech it away. Alchemist is the oldest of Artificer traditions, and its versatility has long been valued during times of war and peace. When you adopt this specialization at 3rd level, you gain proficiency with alchemist supplies. If you already have it, you get to choose one. So that is another skill that they're getting here.
Yeah, so just from the base, you're going to basically get 4. You figure whatever background you take is going to give you probably at least one. I can't see being playing an Artificer and not taking backgrounds that kind of give you those anyway.
Right. Like that house agent that gives you 2 of them.
Yeah.
3rd level alchemist spells. You get a list of spells that are always prepared for you. They don't count against your other list. So 3rd level, you get Healing Word and Ray of Sickness. 5th level, Flaming Sphere and Melf's Acid Arrow.
9th, we got Gaseous Form, Mass Healing Word.
13th level, you get Blight and Death Ward.
And then 17th level, Cloud Killer and Raise Dead. The interesting thing about the Alchemist list is they're all like heal you, kill you spells.
Yeah.
So they have a dichotomy there, which is kind of pretty cool and interesting.
All except for 5th level when you got Flaming Sphere and Melf's Acid Arrow. Those are both damage.
Yeah. Die.
So Experimental Elixir, also getting at 3rd level. Whenever you finish a long rest, you can magically produce an Experimental Elixir in an empty flask you touch. Roll on the Experimental Elixir table for the elixir's effect, which is triggered when someone drinks the elixir. As an action, a creature can drink the elixir or administer it to an incapacitated creature. Creating it requires you to have alchemist supplies on your person, and any elixir you create with this feature lasts until it is drunk or until the end of your next long rest. When you reach certain levels in this class, you can make more elixirs at the end of a long rest, 2 at 6th, 3 at 15th. Roll for each elixir's effect separately. Each elixir requires its own flask. You can create additional elixirs by expending a spell slot of 1st or higher for each one. When you do so, use your action to create the elixir in an empty flask you touch and choose the elixir's effects from the experimental table below. So when you create it every day, you roll. But if you're using a spell slot, you can choose which one you're getting.
There's 6 different ones: healing, swiftness, resilience, boldness, flight, transformation. And the descriptor, the name is actually also a pretty much descriptor. Whether resilience is a plus to armor class, swiftness is increases your speed by 10 feet. Flight is a very minor flight; it's 10 feet around, so it's not like a huge flying speed. Auto self for transformation. It's just nice. It's just some extra things you're going to get, and you start getting at 3rd level. And if you just want to guarantee what you have, you're like, yeah, I just want to have some healing potions that I can distribute. Here, done.
In a pinch, you've got that capacity to be like, well, I'm going to dump that spell slot in there and get exactly what you want. 5th level, we get Alchemical Savant. You develop masterful command of magical chemicals, enhancing the healing and damaging you create through them. Whenever you cast a spell through your alchemist supplies as a spellcasting focus, you gain a bonus to one roll of the spell. That roll must restore hit points or be a damage roll that deals acid, fire, necrotic, or poison damage, and the bonus equals intelligence modifier +1.
This is the ability that makes me raise an eyebrow ever so slightly, because, how is this, this would interact with Life Cleric.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that 1 level dip of Life Cleric is going to get you a little bit extra. It's just a thought.
It's just a thought. There's there, but you know what? There are so many fun and powerful level dips that can be made, and if you do that level dip, you are sacrificing for the Artificer that capstone ability
that you probably will never get or ever get to use. So yeah, there's that.
At 9th level, you get Restorative Reagents. Starting at 9th level, you can incorporate Restorative Reagents into some of your works. When a creature drinks your experimental elixir you created, the creature gains temporary hit points equal to 2d6 plus your intelligence modifier, a minimum of 1 temporary hit point. So how are you rolling 2d6?
If you got the negative, maybe?
How bad off is your intelligence being an Artificer? I think that could have dealt, with, not needing the minimum of 1 temporary hit point.
Well, there's a couple of abilities in the game that can drop your intelligence pretty low.
Okay.
So, I don't know, but it's there.
You also can cast Lesser Restoration without expending a spell slot and without preparing the spell, provided you use alchemist supplies as the spellcasting focus. You can do so a number of times a day, equal to your intelligence modifier minimum once. You regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. That's powerful.
So far, the alchemist is really shaping up to be super versatile and having a lot of options. I mean, the Artificers like that anyway, and then we're doubling down with the alchemist.
And I like alchemy. I think it's a fun thing, and having rules to be able to play around and do potions. And I definitely, now want to dive into this one. Not that the other ones aren't fantastic either. 15th level, you have Chemical Mastery. You've been exposed to so many chemicals that they pose little risk to you. You can now use them to quickly end certain ailments. You gain resistance to acid damage and poison damage, and you're immune to the poison condition. Nice. Total tops here. You can cast Greater Restoration and Heal without expending a spell slot, without preparing the spell, and without material components, provided you use alchemist supplies as a spellcasting focus. Once you cast either spell with this feature, you can't cast that spell with it again until you finish a long rest. So that's 1 free casting of each spell.
And they're very high level spells. Although you're 15th level, you're a very high level caster at that point.
True, but heal, it does a healing effect, so you're going to be able to, because of your Alchemical Savant, you're going to be able to throw that intelligence modifier on top of it.
Well, and I guess one of the things that we didn't really bring up is the fact that the Artificer is a half caster that starts getting spells at level 1. But with all the extra stuff that they're adding in, I feel like it bumps them right back up to nearly a full caster status.
Yeah, they're not going to get those 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th level spells, but they're getting tons of free castings. They're getting all of these things that they can be like, okay, here, I'm going to give you some stuff. I'm going to give you some stuff.
And they're also getting a lot of versatility so far. All right. Now we have the Artillerist. And let's see, an artillerist specializes in using magic to hurl energy, projectiles, and explosions on a battlefield. This destructive power was valued by all the armies of the last war. Now the war is over. Some members of this specialization have sought to build a more peaceful world by using their powers to fight the resurgence of strife and cover. The gnome artificer Vi, an unlikely yet key member of House Cannon's Warforged project, has been especially vocal about making things right. It's about time we fix things instead of blowing them all to hell.
I love these little, descriptions. They did a lot of great work on these little things.
Here's a shocker. At 3rd level, when we take this, we're going to get a tool proficiency, and it's woodcarver's tools.
So I thought this one was a little odd choice considering what they're doing, but I think they tweaked the artillerist from what it was before.
Yeah. I thought smithing tools would probably make more sense.
But the battlesmith gets, smithing tools.
We'll get to that. So again, we're going to get more spells. per level. 3rd level, we get Shield and Thunder Wave.
5th level, you get Scorching Ray and Shatter.
9th is Fireball and Wind Wall.
13th is Ice Storm and Wall of Fire.
17th is Cone of Cold and Wall of Force. So here we're seeing a combination of Protection / battlefield control and damage spells.
Right. So
not a shocker.
Yeah, good stuff. I like it. Here's the part that, I think Dave is a little cringy at, but I think they tweaked it enough that I'm not as bothered by. But 3rd level, they get Eldridge Cannon. You learn how to create a magical cannon using woodcarver's tools or smith's tools. You can take an action to magically create a small or tiny Eldritch Cannon in an unoccupied space on the horizontal surface within 5 feet of you. A small Eldritch Cannon occupies its space, and a tiny one can be held in one hand. You create a cannon, and you can't do so until you finish a long rest or until you expend a spell slot of 1st level or higher. You can only have one cannon at a time and can't create one while your cannon is present. It's a magic item. Regardless of size, it has an AC of 18 and a number of hit points equal to 5 times your Artificer level. It is immune to poison and psychic damage and all conditions. If it is forced to make an ability check or saving throw, treat all its scores as a 10. If the Mending spell is cast on it, it regains 2d6 hit points. It disappears if it reduces to 0 hit points or after 1 hour, and you can dismiss it early as an action. When you create the cannon, you determine its appearance and whether it has legs. You also decide which type it is, choosing from the options on the Eldritch Cannon table. Once on each of your turns, you can take a bonus action to cause the cannon to activate if you are within 60 feet of it. As part of the same bonus action, you can direct the cannon to walk or climb up to 15 feet to an unoccupied space, provided it has legs. And you can choose a flamethrower, a force ballista, or a protector, each with their own abilities. The flamethrower does a cone attack that does 2d8 fire. The force ballista can hit one creature or object, does 2d8 force. And the protector emits a burst of positive energy that grants itself and each creature of your choice within 10 feet temporary hit points up to 1d8 plus your int mod.
All right, with our Eldritch Cannons, we get some versatility. Basically, do you want it short range with multiple targets? Do you want long range, one target? Or do you want to buff yourself and your allies?
Fun things. I enjoy it. I said in the other Eberron video, I'm looking forward to seeing whether there's minis for the Eldritch Cannon and its varieties.
Our 5th level ability is going to be Arcane Firearm, which makes me wonder if we mentioned the fact that if you're using the gun and firearm rules for your D&D game and Artificers, then they're considered proficient with those as well.
We did skip over that. My apologies. It is one of those things that, if you're playing with guns, they can use them.
Yeah, so seeing the firearm made me think of that. So Arcane Firearm is what you get at 5th level. You know how to turn a wand, staff, or rod into an arcane firearm and can do it for your destructive spells. When you finish a long rest, you can use woodcarver's tools to carve special sigils into a wand, staff, or a rod, and thereby turn it into an arcane firearm. The sigils disappear from the object if you later carve them on a different item. The sigils otherwise last indefinitely. You can use your Arcane Firearm as a spellcasting focus for the Artificer spells. When you cast an Artificer spell through a firearm, roll a d8, and you can gain a bonus to one of the spell's damage rolls equal to the number rolled. So it gives you a random bonus.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. Explosive Cannon is at 9th level. Every Eldritch Cannon you create is more destructive. The cannon's damage rolls increase by d8. I would question, it says damage rolls, so would that grant 2d8 temporary hit points as opposed to 1d8, or does it only do...
It does say damage rolls, so I would say no.
Alright, so we're going to have to look out for sage advice on that one. As an action, you can command the cannon to detonate if you are within 60 feet of it. Doing so destroys the cannon and forces each creature within 20 feet of it to make a dex save, taking 3d8 force damage on a failed save or half as much on a successful one.
So this is nice. It gives you some, battlefield control and damage abilities where you're going to be able to, maybe you're better off this round just exploding your cannon and hitting more creatures.
Yeah.
Maybe it's crucial, or maybe you just happen to need an explosion in that part of the battlefield at that moment for something else.
Yeah, so I thought that was really fun.
Spell slot, you make another one anyway.
Yeah. 15th level, you get Fortified Position. You're a master at forming a well-defended emplacements using your Eldritch Cannon. You and your allies have half cover while within 10 feet of a cannon you create with the Eldritch Cannon as a result of a shimmering field of magical protection that the cannon emits. You can now have 2 cannons at the same time. You can create 2 with the same action, but not with the same spell slot, and you can activate both of them with the same bonus action. You determine whether the cannons are identical to each other or different. You can't create a third while you have 2.
Does that mean essentially you can create a wall of energy that's about 40 feet across, essentially? 10 feet to either side of your
Well, it's not a wall. It's a, barrier of magical protection that just, aids your allies. I don't think,
Okay, so it's only 20 feet then. If you position them, 10 feet apart or whatever would cover the 20-foot area.
Well, I mean, technically, it does say, while within 10 feet of it. So it's 10 feet to either side. So, yeah, you could have
technically 40
a
feet
40-foot barrier of cover. Yeah.
In my mind, it's basically like road barriers that pop up made of force.
But what I find amusing is, like, you could have this happen from these tiny little things. Like, that's barely visible.
Yeah, because it could be tiny or it could be the small little turret thing that's running around. And that's the other thing they kind of brought back. They took, like, from the first version of Artificer, they had, like, the gunsmith version, the thunder cannon or whatever it was called. Yeah. So now they're kind of going back to, you can do either.
Right. All right, so that moves us over to Battlesmith. Armies require protection, and someone has to put things back together if defenses fail. A combination of protector and medic. A battlesmith is an expert at defending others and repairing both material and personnel. To aid in their work, battlesmiths are usually accompanied by a steel defender, a protective companion of their own creation. Many soldiers tell stories of nearly dying before being saved by a battlesmith and a steel defender. Battlesmiths played a key role in House Cannon's work on battle constructs and the original Warforged, and after the last war, these artificers led efforts to aid those who were injured in the war's horrific battles.
So, in my mind, all steel defenders are St. Bernards with kegs of healing potions under their necks.
Well, it is entirely possible, considering what tool proficiencies you've worked with. Hey, can I use brewer supplies as my tool proficiency?
And well, not only that, the dog actually looks more like the steel defender looks like a mastiff anyway. Yeah. So I don't think a Saint Bernard is too far of a stretch.
No, as we said earlier, they're going to get tool proficiency, and they get proficiency with smith tools, as with all artificers and actually all general rules. If something gives you the proficiency and you already have it, you get to choose something else.
And then we get into our Battlesmith spells. At 3rd level, we have Heroism and Shield.
5th level, we get Branding Smite and Warding Bond.
9th level, Aura Vitality and Conjure Barrage.
13th level, you get Aura of Purity and Fire Shield.
17th level, Banishing Smite and Mass Cure Wounds.
So again, a nice little dichotomy of helpful and harmful stuff all at once.
Yes. Yeah, the artillerist one is the only one where it's like, we're just going to blast the hell out of you all day long.
Battle ready when you reach 3rd level. Your combat training and your experiments with magic have paid off in 2 ways. You gain proficiency with martial weapons, and when you attack with a magic weapon, you can use your intelligence modifier instead of strength or dex for the attack and damage rolls.
That's one of the things I'm just kind of like bugged by a little bit when, in 4th edition, it's like, here, what's your best score stat? We're going to use that for everything. Your stats don't matter. You just need one good stat.
So far, we've got ways of using strength, dex, charisma, and intelligence now.
Yeah.
So
we just need wisdom and con. Why not?
Yeah, at some point in time, it'll happen. 3rd level, you also have Steel Defender. Your tinkering has borne you a faithful companion, a Steel Defender. It is friendly to you and your companions, and it obeys your commands. There's a stat block that's incorporated, and you can choose whether it has 2 legs or 4, although your choice has no effect on the game stats.
A raptor. No, instead of the Saint Bernard, I might have to go with the Steel Defender Kangaroo.
Oh.
He keeps my tools in his pouch. It's so helpful.
In combat, the Steel Defender shares your initiative, but it takes its turn after yours. It can move and use its reaction on its own, but the only action it takes on its turn is dodge action, unless you use a bonus action to command it to take the actions in its block, or the dash, disengage, help, hide, or search action. If the Mending spell is cast on it, it regains 2d6 hit points. If it's died within the last hour, you can use Smith's Tools as an action to revive it, provided you are within 5 feet of it and you expend a spell slot, 1st level or higher. The Steel Defender returns to life after 1 minute with all its hit points restored. At the end of a long rest, you can create a new Steel Defender if you have your Smith tools with you. If you already have a Steel Defender from this feature, the first one immediately perishes. I would want to go on a caveat of saying, like, even if it's a construct, I still would care about my thing. So I would ask my GM in this situation, like, dude, instead of creating a new one, can I just use my long rest with my Smith tools and just fix the one I have and restore it all its hit points rather than creating a new one?
That would be between you and your GM. No, you must bear the psychological scars.
Every day I've got to watch him die. 5th level, you get extra attack. You can attack twice rather than once whenever you take the attack action on your turn.
So basically 3 attacks around if you're using your Steel Defender.
9th level, you get Arcane Jolt. You learn new ways to channel arcane energy to harm or heal. When either you hit a target with a magic weapon attack or your Steel Defender hits a target, you can channel magical energy through the strike to create one of the following effects. The target takes an extra 2d6 force damage, or choose one creature or object you can see within 30 feet of the target. Healing energy flows into the chosen recipient, restoring 2d6 hit points to it. You can use this energy a number of times equal to your intelligence modifier, but you can't do so more than once a turn, and you get it all back when you finish a long rest.
Pretty cool ability. You can extra healing, extra damage, your choice, but you only get to do it so many times a day.
So I like the idea. They've got the picture with this guy, with a big warhammer. So it's like, I smack my ally, he takes damage, and somehow the magical energy that I'm doing, floats over to my ally and goes.
I knock the pain right out of you, and I knock the health right out of you and into my ally.
I just find that concept a little amusing. So, but you're not sacrificing your attack to be able to do it. I think that's pretty cool.
So our 15th level Improved Defender is basically, it's a bump to Arcane Jolt and to the Steel Defender. Your extra damage and healing from your Arcane Jolt increase to 4d6. Your Steel Defender gains a +2 to armor class, and whenever your Steel Defender uses its deflect attack, the attacker takes force damage equal to a die 4 plus your intelligence modifier. We might want to take a look at the Steel Defender real quick because it's such a key part of...
So when they deflect attack, it imposes disadvantage on the attack roll of one creature can see within 5 feet of it, provided the attack roll is against a creature other than the defender.
So there's that. And also there's the general stats. I believe the hit points on it is its con modifier plus your intelligence bonus times 5 times your level. So basically when you get it, it starts with 20 hit points and it just goes up from there.
Yes, it's pretty nice. It's an enjoyable thing. And since you can essentially create a new one with just a spell slot, it's pretty nice.
It's got a decent armor class. It does a decent amount of damage. And, like you said, it has that one ability, and you're going to get to use it. It doesn't suffer from the shared actions of the Ranger,
right?
Beast Companion.
It does have the action of repair 3 times a day. Magical mechanisms inside the defender restores 2d8 plus 2 hit points to itself or to one construct or object within 5 feet of it. So pretty cool there.
That ability is really useful, especially the ability where it heals other constructs. Because if you have Mending, you can just heal it for 2d6. And that's a cantrip, and it's super powerful in this particular case. So next up, we have Artificer Infusions.
There's a number of them that, it just allows you to create a +1 item, whether it be armor, shield, weapon. You've got enhanced arcane focus, enhanced defense, enhanced weapon. So those are all cool things that you can do, and you get these infusions pretty early, and you can start getting them. You have Boots of the Winding Path. While wearing these boots, a creature can teleport up to 15 feet as a bonus action to an unoccupied space that you can see. The creature must have occupied that space at some point during the current turn. So you can basically, move, do whatever you're doing, and bounce back.
Yeah, some of these have level requirements, like this one is 6th level. Some of them require attunement, some of them do not. Some of the requirements might just be like, oh, this is a particular item you have to use to do it. You can make a homunculus servant. So if you're the pet kind of person, you can keep that rolling. Higher level, you get to make even better weapons that are kind of cool.
There is replicate magic item that tells you, what magic items that are in the DMG that you can kind of create. 2nd level, there's a list. There's another list for 6th level, 10th level, all the way up to 14th level. You've got to be able to create some pretty powerful stuff.
It looks like it's the first 2 tiers are like 10 of them, and then once you 10th level, that jumps up. The number jumps up dramatically. 14th level, again, we get another list, so we get a decent amount. You're going to basically, eventually you're making things like returning weapons.
A repulsion shield, so...
There's a lot of fun stuff you can do with it. And that's in addition to all the magic items that you can make. And you can also relearn your infusions, so you're not stuck with the same ones. You might get to a certain point and be like, well, this isn't as useful, or I actually found the magic item that I made.
Yeah, so
I don't need an extra one of these.
Every time you gain a level in Artificer, you can swap out your infusions. Now, if you've got, I want to create a repulsor shield, well, if you lose that infusion, that infused item no longer functions. You need to have that skill in order to keep the item.
So on the surface, the Artificer seems really powerful, but then I have to think back and go, they're still only half casters, so they're not getting access to the higher level magics.
Right.
They're getting a lot of magic, and they're getting to do a lot of things, but I think they're still limited. So I think they're going to be very versatile. They're going to be like the magic version of the rogue. Mm-hmm. They're going to have a lot of things that they can do. They have a lot of skills they can use. They can even make up for some areas with their magics. They're going to be able to do a lot of healing, but it's low-level healing compared to the cleric, who's going to be able to drop a 6th or 7th or higher level spell.
Mm-hmm. But, that free casting of heal, is pretty nice. When I look at the Artillerist and the Battlesmith, they both have items that are occupying their bonus action. So there are things and elements that are limiting your choices, or giving you more choices than you might, be able to do. I don't know. It's a challenge. It's there. Overall, I'm highly impressed with it. I'm excited to kind of play, and legitimately, I think the Alchemist is where I would lean. But I think all three of them are strong, but not too strong.
Yeah, I'm kind of intrigued by the Battlesmith myself. Like I said, they don't get 2nd level spells until 5th level. They don't get 4th level spells until 9th level. Oh no, that's 3rd level at 9th, and 4th level isn't even going to happen for a while. And then 5th level is towards the end of your career anyway. 17th, yeah. So they're not going to access those more powerful magics. Everything they're going to be doing is mostly through their infusions and just having a lot of lower level spells that they're going to be able to access, mostly through their other abilities too, not so much through spell casting per se.
But I will say that, a party is generally going to be better off having one of them in their party, regardless of what's there. I think they're a great support and variety, versatile. That's what I'm looking for. Versatile character class to join. So
yeah, they can definitely fill in some roles. They can fill in a healer role. They can fill in a tank role. But with the different magic stuff, they can augment themselves. They can augment their allies. Yeah, definitely an asset to an adventuring party. Can't wait to see how they play out. I skipped most of my ragging on how I feel about certain aspects of the class and the theme and flavor. Overall, I would allow it in my game. I like it. And it is slightly better than the ones that I've seen from Unearthed Arcana in capturing the theme and feel. There was some things that were incorporated that I really liked. Like one of the really small things that I really liked was just being able to use your infusions as your arcane focus.
Right.
And that creates some interesting opportunities, I believe, with this character class.
I would agree. So I guess we ask, you guys out there, what do you think? Are you eager to play the Alchemist? Or, is this like, yeah, you know what? It's not in the player's handbook, so never mind.
Maybe you prefer the Artillerist or the Battlesmith. I don't know. Let us know down in the comments below. Before we head on out, let me take a moment to invite you to join Nerdarchy, the Adventuring Party, over on Patreon. What can I expect there, Ted?
We're creating products for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons that both players and DMs alike can drop right into their game.
That's not all. We do monthly giveaways, and our patrons are automatically entered.
We do weekly hangouts with our patrons and more.
So quest on down to the description. Join the Nerdarchy Adventuring Party. Until next time.
Stay nerdy.